Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. So today we have a very special guest here with us. Please welcome CA Ashish Junjunwala. Let me express my gratitude for you to agreeing to this video because so many students and professionals have these doubts, little doubts in their minds that what degree is best for them if they want to get investment banking, risk management, or is MBA worth it or not. And I think a lot of doubts will be satiated today with this discussion. Thank you so much for coming.
Most welcome. I would also like to thank you for having me here, and let's hope that the video is helpful to others.
Yes, definitely. So, without any further ado, let's start our discussion. So, yes, coming to our main agenda and the topic for today, which is financial risk management or the FRM course. Now, a lot of you had reached out asking, that whether FRM is a degree that you should pursue with CFA or without CFA or with an MBA, how it should be like. And I hope to clear all these doubts with the help of this session for you today. Who is Ashish? He's a chartered accountant, a company secretary, an FRM qualified, and he has recently completed his MBA from IIM Calcutta. He is currently working with the Boston Consulting Group. He has worked in Goldman. He has had various awards and accolades to his name in the past. And I think it's best to know about his journey from himself. So, yes, Ashish.
Yeah. So I'm from Calcutta. I've been born and brought up here. I graduated from the St. Xavier's College, Calcutta, and post that I was pursuing chartered accountancy and the company secretaryship courses. Simultaneously, I also pursued the CFA course and the FRM course. And once I cleared all of them, I cleared the chartered accountancy, CS, FRM, and CFA. I went on to join Goldman Sachs in their Bangalore office. Post that, I wanted to move to a more front-end role, so I decided to pursue MBA. At IIM Calcutta, I've been institute ranker. As a part of the dual degree SEM program, I spent one of the semesters at University of Cologne, Germany. Post that, I've got an offer from Boston Consulting, and I would soon be joining them in the.
And we'll have a little comparison of the professional courses versus an MBA towards the end of this video. So do not forget and do not run away. Stay tuned till the end. A little about the course again, coming to the next part. When we really talk about FRM, what course is this that everybody is talking about? It has become so popular in last couple of years. Almost every person who's in finance or risk wants to pursue this. So FRM or financial risk manager, it's, you can say, a global standard for financial risk. It's a course for anybody who wants to pursue a career in either finance or particularly and specifically risk management. It's recognized in every major market, banks, major MNCs, big fours. Almost all the companies are hiring FRMs and risk management profile, and that is what makes it so important in today's time. Coming to when the exam is going to be held in this year, it's going to be held in on November 21 in 2020. So if you're willing to register, you still have some time to go for it. Now the curriculum, how what's the difficulty level, what are the costs? Let's have a look. Of course, I told you that FRM is already gaining a lot of importance in different regions of the world because of the kind of knowledge it imparts to a professional. If we talk about equivalent degree levels country to country for an FRM, in United States, if you are an FRM, you are equivalent to the master's that you've secured master's degree. If I talk about Canada, there's an Ontario qualifications framework level 12 and you are equivalent to them. Coming to India, if you see, it's again equivalent to India's master's degree standard or national qualifications framework level 9. Now these are technical terms that we don't need to get into. The point and the bottom line here being that any country will recognize an FRM equivalent to a person who's completed their masters. So that tells you that how important a professional degree can be. Yes, now coming to the main question, top 10 companies and top 10 global banks that are employing FRMs. You will see all the major MNCs and all the major banks here. ICBC, Bank of China, HSBC, Citigroup, KPMG, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, UBS, PwC, the banks being JP Morgan, ICBC, Wells Fargo, HSBC, Citigroup, Bank of America, Banco Santander. So these are the major employers of FRMs in different parts of the world. And by this, you can analyze that the requirement in today's market and especially for the profiles of risk analysts, risk managers. If you talk particularly about these profiles, companies are majorly looking for people who have completed FRM. What is FRM course? Of course, I mentioned it to you that it's world number one for risk management. A little history about the course. It was founded in 1996, but if I talk about the importance that it gained over time, it has increased manifold, particularly after the 2008 recession that took place in US and other parts of the world, majorly because there was no structure or robust framework for risk as such before that. Professionals like CA or MBA or even CFAs, somewhere they were, you can say, not that qualified to reach there. And I think Ashish will be able to tell you more in detail about it. 50,000 plus professionals are there in across 190 plus countries. Exams are held in 100 plus locations, and more than 68,000 students have written FRM exam in 2018 according to the latest data. And also exams are held in 10 cities in India. So if you're looking forward to give the exam from India, it will not be a major problem or a major cost for you. Yes. Yes, Ashish, why don't you take some here?
So firstly, I would like to tell you that be it any business, any big bank, any big company, the aim is to minimize risk. Any companies cannot be immune to risk, no matter how good they has their substance, has the company, but some amount of risk would always be there. So the aim of the company is always to minimize the risk. So if we look at let's say banks and NBFCs, right? They are lending money to different people out there. Sometimes to huge amounts they are lending out. So as we have seen that, okay, if lending was not in place, as in case of Yes Bank or even ICCI in case of Videocon, we see that, okay, if the credit risk is not calculated properly, there can be a lot of bad debts. So the credit risk is ensuring that, okay, whatever loans are we giving out, or even if we have any counterparty risk, that is catered to. So there's a huge demand for having people in the credit risk department in banks and NBFCs. Similarly, when we are looking at profiles like mutual funds or portfolio management services, investment banks, they have made huge investments, or even in case of hedge funds, wherever there are huge investments. So there's always a risk that, okay, if there's volatility in the market, the investments can suffer huge blows. And a lot of time, what happens is that they are actually trading on margins rather than having the full investments done. So in that case, if a lot of volatility or market risk is there, the whole capital of the company can be wiped out. A lot of similar situations arose back in 2008, and that's one of the reasons that the FRM job profile has increased, the worth has increased, the importance has increased multiple times since 2008. Similarly, in this current situation, if you look at the impact by the COVID-19 virus, a lot of companies have been looking at filing, either they are filing bankruptcy or they are not being able to meet their debt payments. So whenever there's a turbulence or whenever there are tough times, the importance of risk management and consequently the FRM profile increases substantially. So that's why these are the major three areas where FRM job profile or the FRM is needed in running a company.
Okay.
So I would like to tell you about, okay, what's the need and utility of the FRM course. So first thing I will tell you that if we look at CA, MBA, or even CFA, they do have some elements of risk management in their curriculum, but that some portion is just the tip of the iceberg. So if we look at the FRM course, it totally focuses on the risk management area. So it goes in depth rather than just touching on the surface. So the importance, as we mentioned, that the importance has increased significantly post the 2008 crisis. And I personally feel that post the 2020 damage done by COVID-19, the importance will further grow more, and people, they would be more professional, the more demand for FRM, and more people would be coming in to do the curriculum. So yeah, that's the main aim, that okay, there would be a huge need for the FRM course or the risk management area in the near future, and it can be a suitable medium for people of doing this course and getting into those areas or getting into those job profiles.
Okay, amazing.
We're talking about the what is the FRM salary in India and what is the minimum eligibility. So believe me, there is no minimum requirement for pursuing an FRM. So unlike a lot of courses or even a lot of different, like be it chartered accountancy or be it MBA, they have a minimum requirement of okay, who can get into the course. Unlike those, FRM course does not have any minimum requirement. The most simplest thing you require is either a driving license or a passport, which acts as an identity proof when you're going to the center to give your exam. So usually I believe that the CFA course is limited to just the passport, but however the FRM courses also allows you to have a driving license as an identity proof at the exam center. Apart from this, there is no minimum requirement to either register or pursue this course. Now, if you look at the salary of different FRMs, so again, the salaries we are mentioning is not a hard figure, but yeah, it's about an estimate or what generally people end up getting post pursuing an FRM or clearing different levels. So it may happen that okay, the salary you may end up getting maybe slightly less, slightly more, but yeah, overall we expect that the salaries to be these estimates to hold true in the going ahead. So if you're clearing FRM part 1, you can expect a starting salary of 3 to 5 lakhs, and once you clear the other level, it will be 6 to 10 lakhs. And once you get a charter degree, that is after you have attained 24 months of work experience, you can expect your salary to grow to something between 12 to 16 lakhs. Again, unlike a CA course where a large chunk of your value is obtained after you attain the CA degree, in FRM courses, I feel that a large part of the value creation is done through your experiences. So as and when you spend more time in a company doing the job of risk management, you learn more skills. You are able to apply what you have learned in the curriculum, and those learnings helps you to earn more. So maybe you are starting at a package of 3 to 6 lakh rupees annually, but later on, I believe me on that, the growth rate of an FRM is slightly higher than the other professions. So you should not be demotivated by the fact that okay, the beginning of the package is only between 5 to 6 lakhs for a fresher. But once you gain more and more experience into the FRM field, the package will definitely be taken care of by the company.
Okay. So, Ashish, do you think that like a person starts pursuing their chartered accountancy degree right after, after they come out of 12th standard? Similarly, FRM can also be pursued as a standalone degree after 12th itself?
Yes, that can definitely be done. And the best part is that case would be that most of the people have an early morning college. So most of them with their college are also working somewhere. So if someone pursues FRM just after coming out of class 12, that person will have an early mover advantage. And I think by the first year or the mid of second year, they will be done by the FRM course, and they can start early working in the risk management field. And so compared to their friends who would be clearing CA after 4 to 5 years, till the time you reach the 4 years down the line, someone has just cleared another degree, but by then you already have 2.5, 3 years of work experience. And this 3 years of work experience will definitely give a huge boost to the package you are receiving, and apart from the job opportunities in the market.
Okay, super. Yes. Coming to the exam pattern of FRM, what does it look like?
So firstly, the most basic things are that the FRM exam has two parts. The part 1, part 2, the curriculum is different. It's a single exam, not a an afternoon exam both. So the part 1 exam would only be conducted once every half year. So it's usually conducted in the month of May and November, and the date is usually the third Saturday of the month. And once this is done, so in the morning, mostly from 8 to 12, you have the first part, and then from 2 to 6, you have the second part examination. So a lot of questions is there whether someone should attain both part together or someone should give the first part once. My personal advice is that you should give one part at a time, because it may happen that either due to something's not going your way, you may end up clearing the second paper and not clearing the first paper. But however, the FRM rule is that in case you fail in the first paper, your second paper won't be taken into consideration. The part 2 won't be taken into consideration. So there have been cases where people have attempted both the parts. They felt that the first part did not went that well, and they were very sure about the second part. However, they failed in both the parts because they were not able to clear the first part. So again, if you are very sure of clearing both the parts, you can get them together. But again, personal advice would be to give one part at a time. After clearing the first part, you can attempt the second one. Now, going at the exam pattern, the first part, the exam, the FRM part 1 course has 100 questions only. It's all MCQ. There would be 4 options, and you need to mark the right answer, and there would be 4 hours. So a lot of people feel that okay, there's a lot of time there because I believe in CFA exam you have approximately 120 questions in one examination in one session with 3 hours time. So we have lesser number of questions and approximately 33% time more. However, the exam questions are designed in a different way. So what happens in a lot of questions, there would be a lot of calculations required. There would be multiple calculations required. So during my time, I did end up using all the 4 hours. I think I was just able to complete on time. Usually I have a habit of revising all the answers. So in my FRM exam, I wasn't able to do that. So 4 hours is there, but yeah, the questions are designed in such a way that the 4 hours will be used. Similarly, for part 2 exam, the number of questions gets reduced to 80 questions and you still have those 4 hours. But yeah, if you look at the curriculum of part 2, there would be more formula based questions, and this you would be required to use your financial calculator, do multiple calculations. So in the second part, I did have 10 minutes left after completing my paper, but yeah, it was only 10 minutes. So I ended up using 230 minutes of the examination, and there are no negative markings. And yeah, we don't know what we do. So the FRM, the GRP association does not disclose the pass percentage. So we don't have any percentage meant, okay, out of 100 questions, if you're getting 50 right, you would pass or not. So we are not sure about that. But yeah, general estimates or the general association view is that if you can get something in the range of 60 to 70, you should be on the safe side. So always we should target something more than 70, because the pass percentage can any be between 60 to 70. So the aim should be to get 70 plus, and that will definitely see you through the exam. What happens is that it may happen that you are registering for the exam, but as in when exam comes close, if you look at there's a difference between the exam date and the registration time. So it often happens that after registering for the exam, people feel that, okay, I may not be able to give the exam, or I'm not well prepared for the exam. So the institute has a deferral option where you can request the institute to ensure that your attempt is delayed to the next attempt. So probably, so if you're attempting, if you have yourself registered for the May examination, and by a specified date, if you feel that okay, you're not well prepared for the May exam, you can send a mail to the institute and request for the deferral option, where in that case they will shift your registration from the May to the November exam, and you can opt for the November paper, or you can give the November paper without any additional fees. And yeah, so this is about the deferral option. And if you look at the enrollment fee, so the whole idea is that okay, you can register once with the institute by paying $400, and that's a one-time registration fee. And every time you attempt an exam, you pay somewhere in the range of $350 to $650. So there is specified dates. There's an early registration option. So if you are registering within that early registration option date, you pay $350 for your exam fee. Post that, there's a $650 exam registration charges. Always advisable to plan your things early so that you can register within the early registration date. And yeah, and given that there are huge money involved, $350, $650, so it's always better to be good prepared or nicely prepared for the exam, so that you don't have to repeat your exams. So normally, if you are failing an exam in case of CA, what happens is that okay, your attempt is getting delayed or your time is getting wasted, but the exam registration fee is very less. So financially there is no pain, but in case you are failing a FRM or a CFA exam, there is huge financial pain also. So always better to be well prepared for your exam and ensure that you're able to give the exam and pass it off. In case you're not sure or you're doubtful, always better to use a deferral.
This is a very important question. Who should do FRM? Because what we are trying to understand here, is it something only for the commerce professionals or people who are from the finance background, auditing or assurance background?
As I mentioned earlier, that no business is immune to risk, and some amount of risk would always be present. So it is not something which only a finance guy is interested in. So I've seen a lot of a lot of engineers or a lot of people who are non-commerce from the non-commerce field going and doing FRM courses. A recent trend which I have seen is that a lot of actuarial candidates have been doing FRM. So given that they're already doing an actuarial work in a big insurance company or big banks, and they feel that okay, if they do combine it with FRM, they will have a more comprehensive knowledge, and that can actually help them fasten their career trajectory. So I've seen a lot of BTech engineers do FRM. So FRM is not limited to only commerce field, but yes, for the commerce people, it's definitely a very good add-on degree, a very good degree to change your career path or to further your or to fasten your career growth. But yeah, a lot of engineers have been doing it, and it's not only about engineers. A lot of BA, BBA people, a lot of MBAs do FRM. So it's not limited to any specific bachelor degree which people are doing FRM, and FRM can be pursued by any combination of degrees or designations which you have before, and it will definitely be a very good addition to your already qualified the qualifications you already. Curriculum and the details of both the parts of the FRM exam. We realize that if you look at the FRM 1 content, so it's more at if we are in FRM part 1, we are looking at the risk management more at a more macro level. So we get to understand the basic quantitative tools which is used in valuing risk and managing risk. Then there's a valuation of risk management. Here we also end up learning the valuation of options using different matrices. And similarly, we end up also learning the basics of risk management and the financial markets and projections. If we look at FRM part 2, here we are digging deep into various type of risk, so which is mainly market credit and operational risk. Apart from that, we also have a certain portion dedicated to investment management, and a very small chunk is the current issues in financial markets. So in this, we end up looking at okay, what have been the recent trends in the financial markets, what have been the historical major events in the financial markets, what have been those events where the risk management was really required. So there have been a lot of frauds in the history which couldn't be traced and which couldn't be tracked and tolerated at the required time because the proper risk management practices weren't there. So if we look at both the curriculum, the FRM part 1 level, we understand okay, what's the broader approach to risk management, what are the basic various tools we require, and in the FRM part 2, it's more about okay, how do I manage specific risk, namely market credit and operational risk. So and FRM 1, post the FRM 1 part, you will be able to have a good understanding of okay, how the risk management jobs look like, what's the major things you do in a FRM job. And when you look at FRM 2, you get to learn more technical things, more formula based calculations of various risks which affect the normal business. Percentage, it has always been above 40, and recently it has been above 50. In November 2019, for the 2019 attempt, for the part 1 it was 42%, and for part 2 it was 60%. So again, the pass percentage, if someone is pursuing CA or if is pursuing some other course, may realize that the passing percentage is slightly on the higher side compared to the other normal courses. However, there's a big difference. The people who normally pursue FRM are ones who really want to make a career in risk management. They are very passionate about it. And also people who are already working in the risk management area tend to pursue this course. So definitely the pool of people who attempt the exam is very different, and who are very passionate, who are very motivated in life. So that's why the pass percentage is this much is very high. It's not that the exam is easy, and even if you're not going and study, you are passing the exam. It's just that the competition or the people who are actually attempting the exam come from a different background or have a different approach to things. So that's why but still that's a plus if you're attempting the FRM exam, that the pass percentage is high. So you actually don't need to worry about okay, 10 of us have given, ideally only 5 or 6 of us should pass. It's just that okay, if you've studied well and if you're able to score, let's say, an absolute score of 70% and more, you will see yourself in the passing percentages.
Okay, so actually when we did an analysis of CA passing percentages, CFA passing percentages, FRM passing percentages, and even other competitive exams in India for that matter, there are different banking exams, there are different railway exams, people attempt different kind of competitive exams. So FRM, if we compare with any other course for that matter, it has a huge passing percentage. I mean, 50% is great. But again, your point is very important here, that people who are sitting for this exam are really passionate about what they are doing. So somewhere the quality of people who are sitting for the exam is higher, and that is why they are able to clear the exams better, and people who are not inclined towards the exam are not sitting at all. So somewhere you cannot say that a herd is following the route of this exam, and that is why somewhere the influence of passing percentage is there.
Right. And one more thing I would like to add is that though we don't have any official data for the pass percentages in India, what a general consensus or what a general estimate is that if we look at the pass percentage for FRM exam, for even the CFA exams in India, that's slightly higher than the global average. So probably if you're looking at a global pass percentage of let's say 50%, so you can assume the pass percentage to be greater than 50% in India at least. We do not have any official data regarding that, but that's the general consensus and estimate of the people who normally pursue the exam.
Right. I hope you're liking the video by far, and if you're liking it, why don't you give it a good like and leave a good comment? Ashish is sharing all he has, every experience that he has gone through in pursuing this course, and he'll be further sharing his MBA experience as well. So, of course, like, come on, go ahead and give a like and comment and subscribe to the channel. Now, coming to FRM versus CFA. But students especially have this doubt, and even professionals face this doubt, that I've already done CFA, or maybe I've not done CFA. So, how wise it is to take FRM at this point of time when I've already done CFA, or how wise it is to do FRM alone?
So firstly, when we are comparing FRM versus CFA, is just that we are analyzing the different perspectives or the different perspectives of both the examinations. We cannot directly compare FRM and CFA because it would be like comparing apples and oranges. However, we just want to ensure that we are laying out all the different things which would be like which people would consider while taking a decision whether to pursue FRM, CFA, or pursuing both. So we're just trying to look at the different perspectives. So we'll start with what's the duration of the time to complete the course. As you know that FRM, we have two parts. Twice a year, the exam is conducted, May and November. So if someone is working hard, they can just give the first part in May, the second part in November. And by December and where the results come out for the second part, that person is already a FRM, qualified FRM within 1 year. However, for CFA, it's 3 attempts, level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is conducted 2 times. Now it is probably they have laid out a perspective of conducting it 4 times. However, level 2 and level 3 would be conducted once in a year in June. So for CFA, the expected time would be approximately 3 years to complete the course. If we look at the fees aspect or the financial aspect of the examination, uh, if everything goes well, you will be clearing your FRM exam with a financial cost of $1,100. That is 400 for the initial enrollment, 350 for each examination, and that's 700 plus 400, 1100. However, if you look at CFA, the cost is slightly more because even the examination fees is higher and even the enrollment fees is higher. So for completing a CFA, again, we are assuming that each exam or each level is cleared a single shot. The estimated cost would be something around $2,550. As you mentioned that the total exam is the number of parts in FRM is 2, the number of levels in CFA is 3. Now, to get a charter, you require certain work experience. In FRM, you require a work experience of 2 years. In CFA, we require somewhat a work experience of 3 to 4 years to get the charter degree. Again, the area in which the work experience should be there is different for CFA and FRM. So gradually, if you have cleared the FRM course and you're working in a proper risk management role, it shouldn't be difficult for you to get the charter post 2 years of work experience. Similarly, for CFA, after you have cleared all the 3 levels, you need to show a work experience of 4 years or 3 years in the respective area mentioned by the CFA Institute, and then only you can apply for the charter. I currently hold the FRM charter and I've applied for the charter for the CFA examination. So the process is pretty simple. It's just that you just have to have the required requisite number of work months or years in the work experience area. Subjects for the FRM, as we mentioned in the previous slide when we were looking at the curriculum, there's approximately 8 to 9 subjects across the FRM course. So for both the parts together, there would be 9 or 8 subject areas, and we had laid down the list in the previous slides. For the CFA, for each level, approximately we end up studying 10 different subject or courses. So probably you can say that the curriculum is slightly wide, and there are most of us end up studying from the Spicer books. So I guess that for the FRM exam, we have to study 2 or 3 books for each part. For CFA, we end up studying 5 or 6 books for each level. So similarly, given the content in CFA is little wide and more comprehensive, there is approximately 300 hours required to study CFA or complete for to be well prepared for the exam, or and 200 in the FRM exam. Again, it does not mean that okay, since you have studied 200 hours, the institute would be passing you. It's an estimate that okay, if you end up studying 200 hours for preparing the FRM exam, you're prepared enough to qualify the exam. So as we mentioned the pass percentage earlier, the CFA pass percentage is approximately 40, and the FRM pass percentage is a tad higher at 50%. Job profiles, FRM would definitely land you in a risk management area. There are a lot of opportunities coming up, and CFA is more focused in the financial analysis area, and you end up getting jobs which is related to the stock market or fixed income jobs after CFA. FRM is again more preferred by banks, as we had looked at the most employers of FRM in the beginning. And apart from banks, there would be a lot of insurance companies who also prefer having FRM on their roll board nowadays. So again, FRM is one of a kind course focusing especially on the risk management area, for specialization in risk. So you don't have any courses which is a direct competition to FRM or is imparting the same knowledge as the FRM. However, a lot of people feel that the curriculum of CFA is slightly covered or overlapping with the CAN and the MBA curriculum. The starting salary for both CFA and FRM is approximately same. However, one thing to keep in mind is that currently the demand for FRM is very high. However, the number of people attempting the exam or the people who actually complete FRM is very few. So there's a demand supply mismatch in the FRM and can be looked as an opportunity for people who want to pursue FRM in the near future. Even see, there's a huge demand for CFAs. However, a lot of people are enrolling into the CFA courses, so the demand is also high. So it may happen that even after clearing CFA, you need to actually fight it out to get a job. However, for FRM, once you're clearing, I personally feel that to get a job post FRM is slightly easier because the supply is less compared to the demand.
Okay, so we've looked at the utility of both the courses and the demand and supply ranges. But if CFA a higher edge over FRM, is it the curriculum range, or is it the recognition worldwide, or is it the institution CFA institute that holds more value compared to GAR institute, which is giving the FRM degree?
No, so I personally feel that the FRM course is more specialized. So people who are actually passionate about risk management or who are aware of the risk management industry as a whole or the importance risk has in any business, they tend to take up the FRM course. However, for the CFA exam, it's more of a generalist exam where any finance professional feels that, okay, let's take up the CFA exam and we try to get up a job either in investment banking or somewhere related to the stock market. However, in case of FRM, it's a very specialized field. To someone who knows that, okay, I want to make a career in risk management, or probably I want to work with a bank or insurance company in the specified sector, they only end up taking the FRM exam. However, CFA is taken by a lot of people, whoever wants to work either in an investment bank or wants to take up a job related to the stock market. So definitely the pool of people who are interested in a specific course is different for both FRM and CFA. However, again, it's a personal view that the demand or the importance or the following or the people pursuing FRM has seen definitely a good growth over the last couple of years. And given the current challenges which has been posted by the COVID-19 virus, the importance of risk management would increase significantly for the businesses, and that would see a lot of enrollments in the coming years in the FRM course as compared to the CFA course.
Okay. Yes, I think that's an excellent analysis, and you are a person who's done FRM, CFA, as well as MBA. So you're the best person to compare here. Coming to the next slide, yes, we were trying to highlight something, and as Ashish rightly pointed it out, that FRM versus CFA, you cannot really measure them in similar aspects, but they will be complements and not substitutes. So if you're thinking which career path to take, you have to make a choice whether you want to make a career in hardcore finance or risk management, and accordingly you want to go for the courses. But again, these degrees will complement each other and you can't treat them as substitutes. So if I ask you a little about your MBA journey, how has it been through till now?
So MBA was a totally a different experience. So till now, whatever courses we have done, there are no classroom classes. It's more about either going to your tuition centers or learning the things yourself. And compared to an MBA where it's a residential program, you're spending days and nights with your other friends inside the college campus. So the whole experience was really different. So apart from whatever we learned inside the classroom, there was a lot of learning off the classroom with your friends. And the biggest difference was that till now I had only interacted with a lot of commerce people, be it Goldman Sachs, St. Xavier's, or across courses. There were people who were similar, who had similar mindset, similar approaches to things. And suddenly at IIM Calcutta, you realize that okay, you belong to the minority group of non-engineers, and the majority are engineers there. And even in those majority of engineers, people are coming from across India, across colleges, across different subsectors in engineering. So that was a very different experience because it wasn't only bookish knowledge there. There was a lot of case study, a lot of simulations going on, and definitely a lot of collaborative learning with your friends. So that was an amazing experience. And yes, at the end of the day, I got a dream job, so I was really happy for that. And another big moment for me during the IIM Calcutta journey was I received the City Leader Award by a competition which is done by the Citibank. So I had the founder of NICA and the South Asian head of Citibank giving me that award. So that was a very big moment for me in my career.
Amazing. So good to hear about all of that. Coming to the end of our video, I've just given you the link here for the registration of FRM course. GAP organization is responsible for this degree, and you can go on the website and register. The exam is going to be held in November this year.
So yeah, guys, I think we have tried to cover a lot of doubts which people come to us with for the FRM course. And in case you still have any doubts left, or you feel that you need to ask anything on a personal basis, you can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I would be more than happy to reply to your queries. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So we'll be giving the link to Ashish's LinkedIn profile in the description box below. You can connect to him via LinkedIn. If you have any queries, you can put in the comments below this video. And also, if you have any further requests, you can come up with those requests in the comment section. So stay tuned and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, Ashish, and thank you everyone for watching.